Hello, Movie Mavens! Welcome back to another video on the B Movies channel. My name is Bailey, and I put the B in movies. So first of all, up top, I am completely just mind blown because the B Movies blog celebrated its year anniversary on Monday. So I can't thank all of you enough for the support for the past year. To be honest, I'd been wanting to do something like this on my own for a while, but I was nervous, and all of you just showed up in a really big way. All of you just continue to read all of the pieces that we publish. You followed us and subscribed to us over on YouTube when we decided to take the chance over here. And I can't thank you enough, and Elliot can't thank you enough from the bottom of both of our hearts. Just thank you. In other news, in addition to the year anniversary of the B Movies blog, we actually hit 1,000 overall channel views, and I'm blown away. Just happy anniversary to our sweet little B Movies blog, and just thank you for everything, Movie Mavens. Really, just thank you. I love doing this. Elliot loves doing this, and we just can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. Here's to 1 year. So now that we have the cheese out of the way, we have a jam-packed video today. And we're actually probably, the next couple videos are going to be beefy because we have updates on all kinds of analog horror series and horror ARGs that we've been following. So get excited. I will say one thing. I know I mentioned that we were going to talk about the Walton Files next week. I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be out in time for next Friday's video, but we will cover it the following Friday. Don't worry, it is on the Walton Files is on my radar, locked and loaded. So, just a heads up now. So since we have a jammed packed video today, because we have Rapid Eyes updates, we have a Poppy Playtime trailer, we have New Vintage 8, Married to Sleepwalker, the next video's out. We have all kinds of stuff. We have Welcome Home updates. So we're gonna keep the deep dive a little bit shorter today just because we have so much to talk about in the special features. So, with all of that teasing out of the way, let's go ahead and get it started with our blog roundup. So, on Monday, it was my anniversary letter to all of you. Just, again, thank you. Elliot thanks you. I thank you. Just thank you so much for everything. On Tuesday, we talked about the angsty albums that fueled my teenage soul. Elliot picked hers as well. We were in high school in the mid to late aughts, so I mean, you're talking about just the prime time for pop punk, for Fall Out Boy, for My Chemical Romance, for the whole 9 yards. So we picked some of our favorite albums and some of our favorite high school photos as well. So those are all in there, for better or for worse. On Wednesday, we talked about my controversial movie opinions. Now, listen, they're not that controversial, but I feel like a couple of them, people are like, come on. Even there was one where when I was like, I don't like Arrival, Elliot was like, but it's so good though. And I was like, I don't like it. I saw it. I was actually working at a movie theater when it came out, and we got to do an early screener, and everybody loved it. And they were like, what did you think? And I was like, uh-huh. And just kind of fudged my way out of that situation. On Thursday, we talked about The Wedding Planner. I watched it for a second time because the other night, some days when you're like, I just need cheesy, hot garbage. And so I was like, oh, The Wedding Planner is streaming. And I remembered really liking it when I was younger. The movie is bad. And so I definitely hate watched it. So you can read all my thoughts over on the B Movies blog. And then lastly, we have my favorite love songs. We're getting into February finally. January took what seemed like at least 7 weeks to get through, but we're in February, and something that may surprise you, I actually love Valentine's Day. I'm not in a relationship. I'm rarely dating anyone around Valentine's Day, but I just think it's a fun holiday, and I really kind of bask in the self-love aspects of it, so I decided to throw all of my favorite love songs your way. I have a whole playlist. I have a playlist for basically every holiday, and so I pulled some of my faves for all of you. So to recap this week over on bmovies.blog, always linked in the description box below, We have an anniversary letter and a thank you to all of you. Thanks the albums that fueled mine and Elliot's teenage souls. My controversial movie opinions, which are really not that controversial. My hate watch of The Wedding Planner, and my favorite love songs. So now, let's go ahead and do our Bite Size Sunday teaser. If you're new here, Bite Size Sundays are just little reviews that live over on our Instagram, which is just at bmovies channel, same as our YouTube. And they're just reviews on content. It's content I want to talk about. But oftentimes, I don't necessarily have enough to say about it for a full piece. And so I still want to either give it its due or give my honest opinion on it. And so those just drop every Sunday morning around 8 or 9 CST. And so the hint for this week is sometimes the things we wish for as children really do come back to haunt us. And I watched this movie. It had been on my list for a while, and the cast was incredibly good. And I started watching it, and I actually had a very good time with it. So I'm excited to share my opinions of it with you. So that should be enough housekeeping up top. So let's go ahead and dive into today's deep dive, which again, we're going to keep short and sweet because we have a beefy special features section. And I mean a beefy. And so we're just going to keep it simple, and I'm just going to throw out my controversial movie opinions now, which are some of the movies I hate are I don't like the movie Arrival. Thought it was really predictable. I'm sorry. I don't like Interstellar. I'm not a Christopher Nolan fan. That's one of my other opinions. I think Christopher Nolan is extremely overrated. We all know I hate The Witch. I think that movie is bleh. I hated Skinamarink. My hopes were so high for it. And heck, the short film by the same director, it's basically a proof of concept, is so much better. I hated Don't Worry Darling. I wrote a piece on Hyperreal about that, and I'll link it in the description box below. I tore Don't Worry Darling apart. And I also hated Beau is Afraid. I love Hereditary. I love Midsommar. Beau is Afraid. Excuse me, my allergies are horrible. And in Texas, the weather is just like all over the place right now, and so my allergies don't know how to handle themselves. But we talked about, I've talked about Beau is Afraid on the bmovies blog before. I hated it. I don't like it. I think that it's way too long. I will admit the play scene is beautiful. I think the play scene is beautifully done. But other than that, I don't think it's a very good movie. I think the Lord of the Rings movies are boring. I'm sorry. I've tried to watch them multiple times. A lot of my friends in high school loved them. I just don't, and I'm sorry. I think Sofia Coppola is extremely inconsistent as a director. I think she's very hit or miss for me. If for those of who don't know, I did not like Priscilla at all. And then speaking of the Coppolas, I've never seen any of the Godfathers. So what are some of your controversial movie opinions? Leave them in a comment below. And please just still be respectful if people have different opinions than yours, and also like if it's a spoiler, if you're like, I don't like this movie, try to keep it as spoiler free as possible, but if it is, let people know so they don't open your comment. But yeah, so those are just some of my controversial movie opinions. Let me know what yours are. So that's going to do us for the deep dive, because we have one of, I would say, the beefiest special feature, let's take that from the top. We have one of the beefiest special feature sections I believe we've had so far. I'm already working on next week's, and just to let you know, Greylock dropped after I had already written the script for this video, because I have notes. My brain just moves really fast, and so I have to have notes to kind of keep me centered. But I know that a new Greylock is out. It's almost 34 minutes long. It is on the radar. We will be talking about it next week. So never fear. Greylock is on my radar along with the Walton Files, I promise. So to kick us off, let's go ahead and start with Married to a Sleepwalker Video 7. We will talk about Video 8 is also out right now, but again, there's just so much that came out this week and in the past couple days. So Video 8 is also on my radar. So let's kick it off with Married to a Sleepwalker Video 7. So we start with the title card saying day 6 to represent that Shelley has been gone for 6 days, followed by our regular, like, Married to a Sleepwalker title. Shelley emerges from the forest and begins walking to the house. She looks directly into the camera like a creeper and then knocks on the door. The knocking wakes Daniel up, and he appears to have been sleeping in his office and, like, watching the cameras for Shelley. And Shelley just acts like nothing's wrong. She just says she walked out, she completely forgot her keys. Daniel is flabbergasted and is questioning her whereabouts, and Shelley basically just says, I was outside. And so then we cut to the footage from video 6 where there's the light that starts emanating from the other side of the room when Shelley was kidnapped. And Daniel shows Shelley the footage, but she says she doesn't remember anything and basically just changes the subject back to breakfast. Shelley said she's not worried about things she doesn't remember. And Daniel, who is rightfully concerned, he begins asking her why she's not worried. And so then we cut to Shelley, Daniel, and the detective from the previous episode as well. And they start talking about Shelley's disappearance. And the detective just says he's going to close the case, much to Daniel's chagrin. Shelley says she's just glad everything is over and done with, and the detective agrees that he doesn't think this will happen again. And he tells Daniel basically to be thankful that his story had a happy ending because many don't. It's also worth noting, I think, during this scene, there's some camera distortion that I do believe is intentional. I do believe that's to kind of clue us in as the audience that something is up with Shelley. So then the detective leaves, and we cut to Daniel and Shelley in their bedroom, and in the bathroom, and Shelley throws out her fertility meds. And Daniel is questioning, like, why are you doing, we've wanted this for so long, why are you doing this? And she's just really flippant about everything and says it's time for them to stop trying things that aren't for them. And in the next scene, Shelley and Daniel are lying in bed, and Daniel is still just trying to figure out what the heck happened. And he asks her what the last thing she remembers is. And she responds that the last thing she remembers is losing her keys or eating dinner, or something along those lines. She then, when she kind of thinks a little bit harder, she says she vaguely remembers talking to Dr. Lopez and them fighting, but she isn't sure what it was about or if that's accurate. Shelley just keeps telling him to let it go. And the entire time, our girl is just acting like the definition of a pod person. 100%. And so Daniel is just earnestly scared. And he tells her that the whole ordeal frightened him. And Shelley just says that today is the start of something better. Which, again, never great. Especially when your partner is acting like an actual pod person. When Daniel questions that a little bit further, like, how do you know that? What do you mean? She just says, you'll see. Would not feel great about that. So then we get some external footage that's been sped up to show that Shelley didn't leave in the night, and Daniel is shocked to find her still in bed the next morning. And so Shelley and Daniel then have a video call with Dr. Lopez, who announces that he believes Shelley is cured, and he still fully thinks that her fertility meds are the cause. My dog's acting up. It's a process. So anyway, Shelley and Daniel have a video call with Dr. Lopez, and he is pointing back again, like he has previously, that it was Shelley's fertility meds being the cause. So shortly after their call, the detective shows back up, and he is now also acting like a pod person. And he claims that some kids have been vandalizing homes throughout the neighborhood. The same kids are allegedly responsible for the cameras being knocked over, and taken offline the night of Shelley's abduction. And so he's just claiming that these kids confess to everything. And so Daniel's just baffled. And he says, well, did they confess to, like, taking Shelley? And the detective, who, again, now sounds like a pod person like Shelley, says that Shelly must have just crawled out of a window and basically Houdini'd her way out of the house without Daniel seeing anything. Which, again, it makes no sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, we know that as the viewer. But, so then we get more external footage before cutting back to Daniel watching an interview from the head of the CDC, Dr. Barr again, who is, you guessed it, also sounding like a pod person. He claims the curve for LV is flattening, and that most of us have it at this point, which is a stark departure from his previous stance. He then says that LV is going to be a major part of our lives moving forward, and when the interview questions him about, well, what about the vaccine? What about all the other things you've said? He just smiles, again, like a creepy pod person, and says, we'll be fine without a vaccine. Hoo boy. Hoo boy. So then Daniel only has a second to kind of like process this video, which again, stark departure from Dr. Barr's other video, because he hears the electric drill whirling in their living room. And he's outside the office, and Shelly's taking down all of the cameras inside the house. And we cut to Daniel outside taking the cameras down outside. Because Shelly, just keeps saying, it's fine, let it go. So we rejoin Daniel in the office as he says that Shelly is back to her old self, like from over 2 years ago, like before he got sick, back to her old self. And we just get a montage of Shelly going through her day, and she seems happy. And then Daniel says he guesses this is it, and that hopefully the next video he posts will be like them on vacation together. And we get a shot of their bed. It's a montage as day fades into night. It's like a time lapse. And we see them get in and out of bed to represent the days passing, and we find out Shelly's gone an entire week without sleepwalking. And this is the first time in over 2 years. And then we get a thank you title card, and Daniel seems to sign off. But if we know anything, this isn't the end. So at the time of this recording, like I said, video 8 is out, but we just have so much to talk about today. We're going to talk about it next week. And Vintage 8 did mention their community tab that the conclusion is coming with video 9. So I can't wait. We will be here for both of them. I can't wait to see how this all ties up, because who is Mary Q? Is this exactly what Oracle or Prophet was talking about? I can't wait. Kudos always, Vintage 8. So next up, we have Rapid Eyes number 13, which is also, it's a big video. And there's a lot that happens, and I can't wait to see where this is going. Like, the end of this, my jaw was on the floor. So we start in what appears to be a darkened version of the mine from a couple videos ago. And we pass the rope hanging in the doorway. I don't think I can say what it is, but it's a circular rope, if you catch my drift. And the only sounds that we initially hear are those of the player's feet moving, and then he clears his throat. We stumble across radio. Radio is still smoking. We can't click her on like we have been able to in the past. And the player continues walking through the mine, cave, whatever this is. And then we come across some sort of opening. And the player walks down into it, and then he looks back up at where we came from, and it doesn't seem like we can climb back up. So the screen goes dark, and we only hear footsteps for a few seconds, and then the player begins to speak. He says that he feels like he talks too much sometimes, or he tells jokes that aren't very funny, and that some people just don't enjoy his commentary. And he says it's his coping mechanism, that's why he speaks and laughs and jokes about everything. And he also claims he knows something has been going on here, but he doesn't want to accept what was happening. And he admits that there's clearly more to the game than he initially thought, and he's still playing, but he doesn't know why. He says he's sure we also probably don't understand why he keeps playing, especially after the phone call that we overheard in the previous episode, or I think it was 2 episodes ago, but he says he just doesn't know why. And he just feels like he needs to keep playing, and he needs to keep going through this game. So throughout the entire monologue, I thought this was brilliant. It's just the screen is black and all you can hear are those footsteps, and it's just, it's so well done. And so he tells us he has no clue where he's going, and he's going to have a little bit more patience before giving up. And soon after that, we get a flashlight and a walkie-talkie. And when the flashlight turns on, it appears as though we're in some sort of bricked hallway, which we've not been in before. And at the end of the hallway, we see a note, which we've not seen in a minute, and a hieroglyphic on a door. Looks like a slab. And it looks like the Rapid Eyes logo. It's that eye just kind of like repeated. And the note tells us that we need to find levers to pull open the door. And it's very cheerful. There's like an exclamation mark on it. It doesn't have the same menacing tone that the other notes have had. And the player actually comments on how this note is actually helpful and friendly, and it just doesn't have the same malicious tone as the notes we usually come across. So he tries to use the walkie-talkie, but all that gets repeated back is his own voice, it's eerie. It's so eerie. And then our flashlight breaks. And we see a light at the end of the tunnel, and it looks like it's radio. Yay! But this is an analog horror series, so we know better. Radio tells us that they're happy to see us, and then she begins acting really weird. She starts mentioning how her soul was like withering away without us, and saying things like the hate is too powerful, and basically we should just give up and succumb to the hate, which doesn't sound like the radio that we've like come to know and love at all. And then radio begins rapidly cycling through like all of these weird messages that they've been saying. And then a red light appears behind radio, signifying this isn't radio at all. It's Red Eyes or something under Red Eyes' control. The player starts to run, understandably so, and our flashlight eventually comes back on. So then we come across another note that mirrors what radio was saying about everything basically being hopeless and inescapable. And the player goes back to the slab with the hieroglyphic, and we find that we're able to open the door and go inside. And inside the room, there's the same set of lockers that we've been seeing throughout the game, like especially in the school scene. And then, when the player turns back around, the lockers turn into a rabbit toy of some kind. And so the player makes a joke about, the game changing things whenever he looks away. And so then when he turns back for the third time, there's a pyramid made up of the word placeholder. And then when he turns around again, there's a lever. So he exits the room and he begins walking through the tunnels. And then he also makes a weird comment about how he knows it's a video game and he doesn't believe all of the entities are alive, but he's starting to kind of believe all the entities are alive. And then radio, the thing mimicking radio, begins chasing us. And we return to the room we were previously in that has the slab door with the hieroglyphic. And when he turns around, there's another stop sign, like we saw at the beginning of the game. And it's just hovering in the air in the same spot the lever previously was. So then we exit that room, and he starts running down the hallways again, and he decides to test the waters a little bit. And so he speaks into the walkie-talkie to see if radio is what's mimicking his voice, and then go in the opposite direction of the noise. So we start doing that, and the flashlight goes out again. But this time, the good news is we're able to quickly regenerate our flashlight. It's like a split second. We reach a dead end in the bricked hallways, and so we backtrack and we find another note. And this note is similar again to what radio was saying, how the notes have been, where it's just talking about how everybody wants us to give up. And then the player finds another level, and he figures out how he can beat Red Eyes. So he finds a pink orb, one of the ones that transport him to different spots, but before exiting to safety, he decides to talk to the thing mimicking radio, as at this point, the thing has just collapsed to the ground. And the radio mimic admits to being a mimic and says that her light weakens me, referring to the orb. The mimic then begins to say weird things and has a bit of an existential crisis. It asks what life is without things like love, logic, and it says that in the player, the only two people that really understand what it's trying to say and that the mimic also knows the player is human and just begins to discuss the differences between love and hate, contradictory feelings. And I think that the mimic makes a really interesting point about how love and hate exist to balance each other out, and then apologizes to the player for his actions, like for chasing him. And it says that, oh no, I lost my spot in my notes. Ah! Oh my gosh. It also says that hate isn't as powerful as the player thinks it is, which I believe is an allusion to Red Eyes. I think this mimic is trying to help the player defeat Red Eyes. And then the mimic says something really interesting, which is, if the player makes the wrong choices, they'll never wake up from this nightmare. Which leads me to believe that the game may either be a physical manifestation, like we know that this character's been working on it, right? So I think it may be a physical manifestation of his emotions, or he may be plugged in. I think there's something bigger going on, obviously. And the video then ends with the player touching the pink orb and us being taken to an 8-bit animation of a person standing on a pier in the rain. And the player says, what? And the video ends. This is just, y'all, it's so, Rapid Eyes is so good. And the animation and the writing is phenomenal. Please be sure to subscribe to the Rapid Eyes channel. These videos are so good. I'm so excited to see what comes next. Like, my jaw was on the floor at the end of this one. So I'm so excited. Rapid Eyes, I don't know if you'll ever see this, but to whoever the creators of Rapid Eyes are, thank you for sharing this with us, because this is great. So next up, because I told you we have a beefy section, we have some welcome home updates. I'm so excited. So the first thing I need y'all to keep me honest about is, have there always been eyes in the Paisley background of the website? Because I thought I was losing my mind. I don't remember them being there, or at least not that many of them. So keep me honest. Keep me honest on that. But I can say there's a big prominent eye on the rock that Wally sits on the main page. And I will say, I looked back at the rock from October and the eye was not there. So I think that eye is new. So, speaking of keeping me honest, there's the next update I want to talk about is it's making me feel like a dingus. And I think I know what it is. But I want to talk about it first and make sure I'm not missing anything. So if you navigate over to the Playfellow exhibition page, you'll notice things are a bit upside down, literally. Here's where I'm asking for help. There's a piece of copy that says turn the Playfellow exhibition upside down. We'll get into this later. I think someone is giving these commands to Wally because he's like residing within this site. Like, this is where his power's driving from. But if we are supposed to do that, if we are supposed to do something, if it unlocks something, if you can move it in some way, I like to think of myself as pretty dang tech savvy. I'm pretty sure it's just one of the commands to Wally that we'll talk about a little bit, because they're throughout the site, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But if I am missing something with this, let me know. Because I could not figure it out. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is just a command, but I wanted to mess around with it. So if there's something I'm missing, let me know. So, we'll go ahead and get into these. So throughout the site, there are pieces of copy that are telling someone, which I'm assuming to be Wally, to do things throughout the pages. So like on the stickers page, there's a line of copy that says, write okay. And then someone has written okay out of the stickers, and the stickers are all disheveled across the screen. There's the Playfellow exhibition. There's, at the bottom of the main page, it says write hello, or say hello, and someone writes hello. I think someone is communicating with Wally. I think they figured out that Wally's watching this page. And it's such a good tactic. Like, kudos, clown. That's so good. So, again, if they do anything, let me know. But I think it's just our way of knowing that Wally is here. So, lastly, we have some more little buggy friends and doodles to click on throughout the site. So, each bug reveals a video from Wally's POV, and the doodles seem to reveal audio clips. And I don't want to ruin the fun for all of you, but I would pay close attention to the doodles on the About Us page, the bottom of the exhibition page, the About Us page, the guestbook page, and the stickers page. I will also say if you don't immediately see them, give them a second, because some of them are animated and they do take a second to crawl or form on your screen. Now, I know that all of these clips aren't new, but I just rewatched everything and re-listened to everything. And I would also say, when it comes to the bug on the guestbook page, pay attention to what Frank says at the beginning of the video. I think this is really important. I think it's one of the most important things on here. Also, from my best guess and what I've been able to put together, I think these links are spelling out "I will find answer," which I believe is a reference to the question answerer, who I think might be Frank. And I haven't really heard anybody else throw this theory out, but Frank's page, and I've thrown it out before on our Welcome Home. I'll link our Welcome Home. I've updated that piece. It went live this morning. So if you're like, where on the website am I supposed to look? The screenshots are there for you. Do not worry, my friends. But on Frank's page, like his dedicated page on the Welcome Home site, it says that he answers all of the questions of people in the neighborhood. And so I have this kind of theory that Frank is the question answerer, or at least is tied to the question answerer. I also tried looking, so at all of these, at the links for the doodles and things, there are letters at the end of them. I'm not sure if that's just for, like, on the back end to discern, like, which link goes where, or if those are spelling something out. So if you find anything else, let me know. I think Wally's getting stronger. I think something big is coming, and I can't wait for the next updates from Clown. So next up, we have Poppy Playtime Trailer 2. And as of this video going live, and of me recording this, Poppy Playtime 3 is officially out on Steam. So, I can't wait to watch some playthroughs, and if, I don't know if we'll cover it in the next couple of videos, because we have so much to talk about, but I will, and let me know if you would like to see me cover some stuff on Poppy Playtime 3. I'm definitely more than happy to cover the gameplay, or just some general synopses things. I can't wait to watch some playthroughs on this. I'm really excited. So we also, with the game coming out, we also got an additional trailer. And so I want to cover the trailer really quick, because we've covered the other trailers and the other ARG stuff on the channel for Mob Entertainment. So, in the final trailer for Poppy Playtime 3, we start with what appears to be a projector and an image of people in hazmat suits watching children sleeping in beds. And to me, it's very reminiscent of the children in Freddy vs. Jason. Like, that's the vibe. So then the hand switches out, and we see a photo of 4 children. Their faces have been blacked out with a marker, and one of them is wearing a Huggy Wuggy shirt. I would also like to mention the hand does not look human. The hand, I believe, is either Huggy Wuggy or Catnap or someone we've not met yet. It's not a human hand. It's a Playco. It's a Playco hand. So then the photo is swapped again, and there appears to be a photo of a child and medical paperwork with a lot of redacted information. And then the light for the projector clicks off, and music starts playing. We then find out that the house and the set that we saw in the original trailer is/was an on-site orphanage. Woof. We then get a tour of the various parts of like the orphanage and the school and the playground. And the voiceover continues that this is like a place where everyone belongs. And then we cut to the scene of like a straight on shot of the train fire and the train crash from the end of the second Floppy Playtime. So then we cut to more gameplay and we seem to make our way through the orphanage grounds. And then a child's voice tells us that when you're at your most vulnerable, he'll end you. I don't think this is Poppy's voice. I think this is a child's voice. I might be wrong. But I don't think this is Poppy. And I'm not loving the sound of that. And we cut to more gameplay, and then the child's voice continues and tells us that the orphanage is his church and his playground, which we can assume he's alluding to Catnap. Then the voice says they know why everything is happening, and we see a tape lying on the ground called The Hour of Joy, which is an allusion to the other trailers where like the hour of joy is upon us. And the voice says this is your answer, which we're assuming alludes to there's something on this videotape. Something happened. And we cut to more gameplay through footage as like we traverse through Playtime Co. And we also see footage of Poppy and Kissy Missy, as well as Huggy Wuggy, who doesn't seem quite right. Like, we got that image of him on the TV, right? He's just, like, smiling in a way that I think is, like, the Catnap smile. I don't think it's his regular face. At least to me, it did not look like that. And he's chasing us, which, given how we're kind of teaming up with Poppy and Kissy Missy, I feel like Huggy Wuggy is possessed or got. That's how I feel. So the original voiceover talking about the grounds comes back and basically tells us we're doomed and the Catnap is going to get us all. And we also finally see like Catnap in all his glory, and boy howdy is he a creepy little kitten. So I personally, I can't wait to watch some Let's Plays and some playthroughs of this. And again, Poppy Playtime is now available on Steam. So I'm very excited for that. So now, finally, let's get into subtitles. And so, subtitles, they're just little snippets of news that I think is exciting. I already have some going for next video too. There is so much coming out. There's so much I'm excited to talk about. Moving forward, I'm so excited. But let's go ahead and kick off with a subtitle that I have very strong feelings about, which is the remake of Roadhouse starring Jake Gyllenhaal has been announced. I don't know why we're touching that movie. Patrick Swayze, I don't know why we're touching it. Anyway. The trailer for Sydney Sweeney's new movie, Immaculate, has been announced, along with a release date of March 22nd. I'm actually really excited about this. I think it looks very good. Who knows, but I'm hopeful. Knives Out 3 will allegedly begin filming this year, which I love Knives Out 3, and my controversial opinion is, I should have put this in the piece, I think Glass Onion is better than the original Knives Out. So I'm really excited for the third one. A teaser trailer for The Return of Steamboat Willie has been released. I would be lying if I said I wasn't intrigued. I love Winnie the Pooh. That movie, I laughed. It made me giddy. So I will probably watch this because I think all these are so silly and they make me so happy because they're so goofy. Next up, Monkey Man, which is directed and is starring Dev Patel, has been announced. It's being executive produced or produced by Jordan Peele, I don't remember. And it's being distributed by Monkey Paw Productions. I think it looks awesome, and it will be out April 5th. I'm really excited about this one. I think it looks great. And then finally, Alex Kister has announced that the 5th volume of the Mandela Catalog is on the way. Yes, we will cover it. It's going to be a good year I feel like it's going to be a really good year for horror. I think that, again, if you're one of the peeps who doesn't think we ate well last year, I think between YouTube and what I've seen already out of the gate, because I've already watched the Greylock video, I think we're going to have some real heavy hitters this year, and I'm very excited. So, I think that will actually do us for today. So it is just time to wrap it up. So be sure to follow me on Instagram at Lisa_Frankenstein_. Excuse me. Be sure to follow Elliot on Instagram at reading.with.read. Be sure to subscribe to the blog and read the blog over at bmovies.blog, always in the description box below, along with all of our handles. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, just at bmovies channel, same as our YouTube. And also, subscribe. If you aren't subscribed, give us a like if you feel so inclined. It is free. And I think on that note, all that's left to do is fade to black.